Welcome, guys. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Um, hey, I thought today that we would ditch the tragedy and explore the comedy as we delve into the world where Shakespeare's most famous heroine defies expectations and finds her own happily ever after. Guys, this is a message of self-discovery that makes and Juliet a truly unforgettable theatrical experience. And Juliet is a 2019 coming-of-age jukebox musical featuring the music of Swedish pop songwriter and record producer Mr. Max Martin, with a book by David West Reed. Now, the story itself reimagined Shakespeare's classic tragedy, Romeo and Juliet, exploring the one singular question: what if Juliet didn't die? Well, instead of a tragic end, Juliet embarks on a journey of self-discovery, fueled by the infectious pop anthems of Max Martin and the artists he wrote for. Essentially, it's a modern, upbeat take on a classic love story, infused with catchy pop music and a healthy dose of humor. And trust me, guys, who doesn't need a good dose of humor amidst all the sadness engulfing parts of our world today? Now, I know what you're probably asking. Who is Max Martin? Well, Max is a record producer and songwriter for some of the biggest artists that we've come to know. Songs such as Baby One More Time by Britney Spears, I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys, how about It's Gonna Be Me by NSYNC, or even Celine Dion's That's the Way It Is. Well, since the late 1990s, Martin has written or co-written 27 Billboard Hot 100 number one singles, 25 of which he has produced or co-produced, ultimately becoming an all-time record for the charts as of March of 2024. Now, if we're talking Billboard Hot 100, Martin has written the second most number one singles on the chart, behind only one of the greatest lead vocalists of the Beatles, Paul McCartney, coming in at number 32, having surpassed John Lennon's number 26 with his 27th number one in March of 2024. Now, fun fact, in early 2019, The Hollywood Reporter tailed his single sales at over 135 million copies. And that's not even the tip of this mogul's empire. According to Variety, his net worth was approximately $260 million in 2017. The previous year, his corporate entity generated revenue of $54 million with a profit of $19 million. And get this, Max Martin is an 11-time ASCAP Songwriter of the Year award winner. And for non-music people, ASCAP recognizes composers, authors, and publishers. Now, where are we? Ah, yes. So you already know the first bit. Romeo and Juliet, they fall in love, but their families hate each other. So they marry in secret and several people end up dead. But here is where things get a little bit more interesting. To be with Romeo, Juliet obtains a sleeping potion from Friar Lawrence, which will grant her the appearance of being dead. Then, Friar Lawrence sends a messenger to tell Romeo. But instead, well, the messenger fails to reach Romeo. So Romeo thinks Juliet really is dead and kills himself. Whoa! I know, plot twist. You're going to love this part. Then Juliet wakes up and, seeing Romeo dead, punches his dagger into her heart, killing herself too, and that's the ending. Or so we think. But what if Juliet didn't kill herself?
But that's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just...
I mean, it seemed like she had a whole life ahead of her.
She's gone.
What did you say? Answer me!
She's gone!
She's only had what, one boyfriend? Maybe she doesn't kill herself just because he killed himself.
Alexa, remind me that I don't need a man and men are useless. When should I remind you? Every damn day.
Sick, huh? Like total female empowerment.
Women need a seat at the table. They need an invitation to be seated there. And in some cases, where this isn't available, well, then you know what? Then they need to create their own table.
I mean, let's face it, the ending of this tragic story is just plain shit. So, what if we just, I don't know, change the story?
You're awful!
The preceding joke was brought to you by men.
Men, we don't know what we did.
The real question one must ask, is Romeo a strong enough man to write a stronger woman?
Men, they're only good for one thing. Opening jars!
I haven't had a pearl onion in years.
Now we don't need men at all!
After all, this is Romeo's story, is it not?
Yes, 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 yes.
Wrong.
No, no, no.
I mean, Romeo can still die, but in this story, Juliet just, well, wakes up and decides to just move on with her life. Juliet finds her one true voice.
What are you waiting for? What are you asking for?
This is what I want my life to be.
It's not gonna be easy.
Folks, and Juliet premiered at the Manchester Opera House in September of 2019. The guest starred Olivier Award-winning actress Miriam Teak Lee, British musical theater actor Oliver Thompson, Olivier Award-winning actress Cassidy Jansen, Trinidad-born actress and singer Melanie Labar, three-time Olivier Award winner David Badella, as well as British stage and television actor Jordan Luke Gage. Now, meanwhile, at Romeo's funeral, yes, we're not quite done here, Juliet soon discovers that her fearless Romeo had, well, how should I put this? Other lovers. Yes, don't you just love when I left you with a cliffhanger? In November of 2019, oh yes, we've shifted back. Keep up. The musical transferred to the West End's Shaftesbury Theatre, running for, give or take, about 3 months. And well, you gotta remember, there's a long period of deadly virus called COVID that shut down nearly every theater across the world, which means that the production would resume not until September of 2021. Anyways, getting back. All of the cast from the Manchester run of the show transferred for the West End opening. And Juliet would later be nominated for 9 Olivier Awards, winning only 3. Now, we have to address an off-topic little problem. This man, William Shakespeare, he went to London to become a playwright and left Anne Hathaway. Look, it doesn't matter. He left her alone in the country to raise their kids. And yet, when it came down to write his will, do you know what he left for her? His beloved wife, his second best bed. I mean, in all of his work, he never mentions Anne. He never gives her any credit. He writes hundreds of sonnets that are definitely about being in love with a young man. And one sonnet that might be about her because he puts her last name, Hathaway. And yes, her actual name is Anne Hathaway. Get over it. But in all of his plays, never once did William Shakespeare portray a single happy marriage. Well, all of that was about to change. In November of 2021, Broadway audiences were gearing up for a larger-than-life, overly protective, yet confident musical about a teenager's dream of breaking free. I know what you're thinking. Dude, that sounds totally like Rebel Without a Cause.
It's fact. Yes. Yes. It happened. You were correct. It's fact.
You may be right. Anyway, the musical opened its doors at the Stephen Sondheim Theater, where it still runs today. The Broadway cast starred Tony-nominated actress Lorna Courtney, actress and singer Betsy Wolfe, two-time Tony nominee Stark Sands, and Brazilian operatic baritone Paulo Schott. And Juliet had generally positive reviews, with some praising its high energy and its easy and fun tone, calling it a breath of fresh air. It was also praised for the diverse casting and its sense of humor. However, others critique the immaturity of its politics and the lack of clear foundation, saying that the spectacle itself is overcompensating. Well, let's just clear the air. No, on second thought, let's not. So, skip ahead. Oh, get ready. Spoiler alert. So, what if it's revealed that the poison Romeo drank was actually a sleeping potion? If Juliet, once dead, was now alive, why then couldn't we say Romeo did survive? Yes, because what's a story if we don't have both characters alive and well? Wait. Oh, gosh, it'd be like Shaun of the Dead. Oh, Christ. Moving on. In March of 2023, the musical would transfer to Australia's Regent Theatre, where one could say they just couldn't stop the feeling. Oh, shit. Oops, I did it again. It guest starred Australian singer-songwriter Rob Mills, Australian musical theatre actress Amy Lefhamer, Australian singer-songwriter and winner of Season 2 of Australian Idol, Casey Donovan, and of course, New Zealand musical theatre actor and makeup artist himself, Hayden T. Now, the show opened to positive reviews, with critics citing strong cast performances and the music as the show's strengths, despite the book's weaknesses. Now, the show continues to tour the globe, as well as here in the United States. If you'd like to secure tickets to an amazing night of fun-filled spectacle, I will have a link in the description below. Now, where does this story lead? Well, let's see. What happened then? Well, that's the play, and he wouldn't want us to give it away. Oh, damn it. That's another musical about a demon barber and... I need a drink. Shakespeare turns out to be, well, a total douchebag. He creates Romeo in his own image. I mean, where is the lack of dignity for such a character? I mean, if not dignity, what about the name? You know, Juliet was supposed to make a name for herself. Whether it was for Romeo or Francois, whether it ended in tragedy or ecstasy, Juliet was about to take control over her own life. But then Shakespeare just wrote the play. A tale of two young lovers forced into marriage because of circumstance, and it felt like a sign. But in art as in life, Anne had no real say in what happened. Whether Juliet ends up alive or dead, Shakespeare was simply in love with his work. You know, he wanted to write a great tragedy, but this little douchebag didn't know that the greatest tragedy of all would be losing her. In the end, folks, maybe there is no rush wedding or double death or anything that conclusive. Maybe it's just two people who have always loved each other, trying for a new beginning. Maybe Romeo even acknowledges his own mistakes and expresses his own love for Juliet. Honestly, and in his own words. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this journey of Anne Juliet. Until next time, remember, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Love looks not within the eyes, but within the mind. This above all, to thine own self betrayed.